The Man of Steel is no more. Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. This is the final days of the Superman that we were introduced to in the New 52. It takes place after everything in the New 52. It's his final tale. Superman says with a very serious face, "I'm dying. It's real now. I've run countless tests, scans, and ran the numbers. There's no way to fix it. And it is due to all of the recent events in my life. During the fight with Vandal Savage, he was bathed in kryptonite. Then in the fight with Rao, he took a beating like he had never taken before. And during the Darkseid War, he became imbued with the fires of apocalypse, cementing the damage to his cells. The end result? He's dying, and there is no cure. He walks over and he kneels down with Krypto. He's letting everyone down, the League, his country, the entire world. He's abandoning them. He looks up at the statue that he made of Ma and Pa Kent, happy that he at least got to finish this tribute to them. Then his alarms go off as someone is trying to hack into his Fortress of Solitude. And while he has the computer trace the signal, Krypto brings him the cape, and he agrees. There's always a job for Superman, as he takes off, saving people like he has always done. It doesn't matter if he's sick, people need him. But eventually, it's time for him to finish things up. He lands in front of Lana Lang in Smallville, and he smiles at her, changing into Clark Kent, and then they sit on the swings discussing the good old days. But after he pushes her on the swing, he sadly tells her they need to talk. After he tells her the news and that there is no cure, with tears in her eyes, she hugs Clark, and he tells her that she is his oldest friend. He wanted to tell her first. They went to his parents' graves where she told him that she knew something was wrong during the Vandal Savage mess. He had black blood coming out of his nose. She tries to argue that they can solve this, but he again tells her there is no cure. Then she holds him tight. "I don't want to lose you." "It's okay." "It's not okay." Meanwhile, the Chinese scientist that hacked into the Fortress of Solitude climbs out of her device and she walks into a room with someone sealed up, telling herself that her dreams are on their way. And over in Minnesota, a man is running from the police when a bright light shines in front of his truck, crashing into him. Someone comes over to check on his crash, and he flares up with the power of the sun, telling the man that he is Superman. But the real Superman is going to his next stop, Metropolis, to see Lois Lane. He lands on her balcony, and he asks if she's up for a spin, taking her into the sky. As they fly, she asks what's the occasion, and he tells her he wants to tell her the story of Clark Kent and Superman. His next stop after his goodbyes with Lois is Gotham, to see his greatest friend. He lands after stopping one of Batman's villains, telling him, "Evening." "Yes, it is." "Did you bring your car?" "No." "Good. Why?" Then Superman picks up Batman and flies him back to the Batcave. "Okay, you're officially pissing me off now." Once they get there, he explains everything to Bruce, and Bruce looks for an answer. He explains that he brought Damian back from the dead. They can fix this. But Superman tells him there is no fix. He looked for it. He's resigned himself to what is coming, and he's not here for sympathy or for hope. He needs Bruce's help in finding someone. Kara Zor-El. Supergirl has been missing for the last few weeks, and he wants to make sure that she is okay and safe, and he needs someone to carry on his name once he's gone. Bruce has a seat at his computer with a new task in mind, something to get his mind off the fact that his best friend is dying. And Superman tells him he'll be back. He has another stop to make. But as he's leaving, Alfred stops him. "I couldn't help but eavesdrop." Then he shakes Superman's hand. "Thank you for everything." "You're welcome," Superman says with a smile, and then he leaves. Alfred looks over at Bruce with a task in mind, and then he watches Bruce smash his fist into the computer. Later that night, Superman flies back over to see Batman on a rooftop. "Evening." "Yes, it is. The League Watchtower said that you just saved 3,000 people from a lava flow. I didn't count. Had another situation that needed my help in India. You're starting to look a little worn down. Don't you think you should slow this down? Would you?" "No." "Okay then, so what do you got?" The last known location was this cafe. Then she headed off for National City. Suddenly, they're attacked by some creatures that were sent from China. While Batman and Superman beat them back easily, the dragon monster cuts Superman easily, taking his blood and then leaving. Once in National City, Superman tears into the lab where he found Kara held captive. He tears apart the device holding her, and he flies her out of the lab, and then she wakes up asking him, "What are you doing?" "Saving you from becoming a lab rat?" She jumps out of his arms. "I don't need your saving." "You disappeared for weeks, Kara. I wasn't under the impression that I had to report to you everywhere I go. I came here on my own and they were helping me. My powers are growing weaker and they're helping me get them back up and running." Then, Superman falls out of the sky. Kara catches him and asks him, "What's wrong, Cal?" "Pretty soon there will only be one member of the House of El, and that person's going to be you." Over in China, the dragon monster returned to the woman, and she cut off his hand to get the blood that was on it, the blood of Superman. Over in Metropolis, our man with solar powers claiming to be Superman walked into the Daily Planet insisting that that he was Clark Kent. When people including Lois and Perry questioned who he really was, he used his heat vision, burning the people in the building, and then Lois shot him with a taser, and Perry called up Argus. But back with Superman and Supergirl, he explained the situation, and he brought her to the Fortress of Solitude to show her his home, which is now hers. He explains what it means to be the protector of the world, paying good deeds forward. He tells her that she can do this. She is so much stronger than she gives herself credit for. And then he shows her that he'll be there every step of the way for her, as he shows a Kal-El AI that he made for her, one that'll guide her. Kara agrees to take on this great responsibility, but as they go to leave the fortress, someone else has arrived, demanding to know when he was going to tell her. When was he going to tell his girlfriend Wonder Woman? She walks over to him. Clark, am I the last one to know? Batman told you? Yes, he assumed we had already spoken about it. Hello, Kara. Hi, Diana. I didn't tell you, Diana, because telling you was going to be the hardest of all. I was honestly building up for it. Seeing that they need some time alone, Kara heads off telling Cal to call her when he needs her. And Diana begins to tell Clark that they need to figure this out, solve it, maybe go back to the gods to save him again. But Clark stops her. If you trust me, Diana, then trust me when I say that this isn't a battle that I'm going to win. He solemnly closes his eyes. I've gone over it and over it. This is this. After all of their fighting recently, she asks him, "Do you love me, Clark?" And he caresses the back of her head, and he kisses her. But they're interrupted by a call from Argus, letting him know that they've got something for him to look at. Diana and Clark head over to see this weird man calling himself Superman. They can both identify the energy coming off of him as the energy that Superman expels during a solar flare. That's the new power that he used recently against Ulysses. But this fake Superman gets up and starts yelling at him, "How dare you fake being me wearing my family crest?" Diana stays behind to keep an eye on the fake, while Superman goes to check on Ulysses, a man also being kept here at Argus. But when he goes downstairs, the anger in the fake Superman builds up, and he explodes, breaking out of his cell. The surge also shuts down Ulysses' cell, and while Diana is fighting with the fake Superman, who we will now be calling Solar Man to avoid confusion, Ulysses powers up and he hits Clark with everything. Ulysses has power equal to Clark, and in his weakened state, Clark is no match for Ulysses. He keeps beating on him over and over, telling him that he'll pay for what he did. And while this is going on, Diana is trying to hold back Solar Man until he flies off, escaping. That's when Steve Trevor runs over, turning back on Argus's systems, and Diana runs over to save Clark and finds Ulysses has stopped beating on him once the power dampeners came back on, because it didn't matter. He's already dying. Batman joined Wonder Woman and Superman as they took to the skies to find this fake Superman, Solar Man. Diana explains that this man truly thinks that he is Superman, and Bruce's computers picked up his energy signals in China. Looking at Diana and Clark holding hands, Bruce tells him that he's happy that they worked things out. Did Batman just use the word happy? Diana says. Don't listen to Diana, Bruce. I appreciate you coming to help us with this. What are friends for, Clark? We're more than friends, Bruce. We're super friends. Say that again, and we're most definitely not. Since the signal is in China and the monsters that attacked them earlier looked Chinese, Clark assumes that it's all connected. But as they enter the Chinese airspace, they're stopped by China's own superheroes, insisting that they leave it up to China. After a little superhero on superhero fight, they agree to work together to solve this, and the signal brings them to a lab where they meet Dr. Omen. They accuse her of taking Superman's residual energies and using it on something, and Clark can feel it nearby. So they walk into one of her labs where they see a man filled with Superman's energy and wearing an S. But he doesn't look like the fake Superman that they fought earlier. Realizing that her work is possibly in trouble, she frees this Superman and he takes off into the skies. While the Justice League wants to chase him, the Chinese superheroes tell them that he is their problem right now, unless they want an international incident. Realizing that they have to find the one that's actually causing problems, they leave this Chinese Superman to the Chinese officials, but they expect to be briefed on the situation. Meanwhile, Solar Man has made his way back to Lois Lane's apartment. As Clark, Bruce, and Diana all fly back, Superman suddenly collapses out of the sky again. Diana helps him into Bruce's bat plane, and Diana asks why they don't just try the Lazarus pit. But Clark stops her. Please, no more dunking me in weird places. Let's just find my double. Solar Man is currently asking Lois if she truly knows Superman. And if she does she want to know a secret? Over in California, there is another Clark Kent, an older, wiser Clark Kent, going by the name Clark White. You see, after the event known as Flashpoint, the original older Superman from the original timeline, with his wife Lois Lane and son Jonathan, found themselves on this Earth. He's been working in secret to prevent events from his timeline from happening over here, and he managed to remain hidden this whole time until this fake Superman brought this timeline's Lois Lane to his home, somehow knowing about him. Lois is confused and Clark White is too, because who is this Superman and what is he doing here? But once Solar Man threatens his son Jonathan, Clark White is done playing games, and using his super speed, he grabs Solar Man, tearing him out of the house. The two of them begin to fight it out in the sky. The energy signal gets the Batplane's attention, and Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman all head to that location. Clark, White, and Solar Man crash land into a field just as Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman all arrive. And Superman looks at Clark White and asks, "What is this? Who are you?" But Clark White tells him, "It's a long story, Kal-El, which we have no time for right now." With Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman there, Clark White flies over, grabbing his Lois and his son, and he gets them out of the line of fire. Superman and Wonder Woman begin throwing everything they have at Solar Man, while Batman gets this timeline's Lois Lane out of the way of danger. Once Batman gets her a safe distance away, he turns around to go help his friends, while Superman and Wonder Woman are swinging trees at Solar Man. But after they beat on him so hard that they turn him back into himself, he starts solar flaring, and he drops both Superman and Wonder Woman. He then grabs Superman by the head, taking him into the sky, stating, "I'm gonna show you who the true Superman is." He holds him close, shouting in his face, "Say it! Say I'm the real Superman! Tell the world!" As Superman knocks him back, asking, "Do you want me to lie?" He smacks Solar Man back, and then he hits Superman with a blast of energy, and they keep slugging it out once again until Solar Man explodes with power, dropping Superman. Then, Supergirl lands in the small of Solar Man's back, dropping him. "Leave my cousin alone!" As she goes in for another hit, he flares up, throwing her out of the sky. So Batman hits him with the Batplane. The whole mess crash lands, and Batman climbs out, and that's when Solar Man breaks through the wreckage and into the sky again, slamming his fist into the ground. He's growing so hot with energy that he no longer even looks like Superman, but instead fully looks like a being of pure energy. So Superman tackles him and he brings him into space because this being is about to explode. But in his weakened state, Superman can't get him high enough. He can't get him into space until Clark White shows up to help push. "I've got you. Let's finish this. Who are you?" "A friend." Then Clark White sees Superman's condition. "Your skin. You have kryptonite poisoning. Thanks for the help, but I've got a plan that you can't be a part of. Right now, we're a part of the same team. I'm staying." "Good to hear, because whoever you are, the world's going to need you," Superman says, punching Clark White across the face, dropping him back to Earth. Superman gets into space and he decides that he's going to counter Solar Man's explosion with his own solar flare. Fight fire with fire, and then the explosion in the sky is massive. And once it's over, the whole world saw it, and Superman falls from the sky, and Clark White catches him just as he's about to crash. A helicopter lands with Steel and Lana on it, and everyone gathers around Superman. They gather around Clark Kent. He falls to the ground asking Batman, "Did I absorb it?" "Every last bit." "Good." Got worried there for a second. Then Lana runs over. "What am I gonna do without my best friend?" "Anything and everything." Then Lois runs over to Superman. "I should have known that I couldn't keep you away from a big story, Lois." "You mean from you, Clark. Remember everything that we talked about, Lois." "I do, and I will." Then he turns to Supergirl. "Make me proud, Kara. You can count on me, cousin." And Steel thanks Superman for always inspiring him. And then Batman leans in. "Clark, you don't have to say anything. I know, because you're the best of us. Serving by your side has been an honor." "No, the pleasure's been all mine, Batman." Then he looks up at Diana. "It's taking everything I have to hold on. His energy is burning up inside of me. Let go, darling. It's all right. Your parents are waiting for you." And he smiles at her. What a lucky man I was. Finally, the energy disperses, and he turns to ashes. The world without Superman began. Lex Luthor looked at his new suit with the S on it, and Jimmy Olsen broke his TV because the news was reporting that his friend had passed, and Lois went to work on his last wishes, writing the story, sadly titled, Superman, A Hero's Life. Now this is the end of the New 52 Superman, and honestly I was just starting to really like him. I felt like he was finally becoming the Superman that I knew and loved as a child, and I felt like we got to see that journey of him becoming a hero. So let me know in the comments down below, what do you think? Do you like the fact that he's gone and we're gonna get pre-Flashpoint Superman back, or do you now miss him? Do you feel, as I do, that we finally started to care about him? Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Comicstorian and Instagram at Comicstorian, and check out our manga channel, Comicstorian, where we bring you manga every Monday and Friday, and I'll see you next time right here.